singles in the past years have been, well, yours was great, of course.
Of course.
I'm actually not responsible for this one.
What was the thought process of going with covers as opposed to a personally written song? Was that an idle thing? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't really know whose decision. Wow, this is pretty loud. I don't know whose decision that was, but I actually think it was a really good one. Because I think when you, as a songwriter, have to write about a winning moment, and you're somebody who's not actually experiencing it, you know, you're not on the show, it's not your reality, it comes across as cold and not something that has a lot of feeling to it. And those songs were written by artists who actually did experience, you know, from that mountain, that moment of triumph. So when they're performed, they have a lot more depth and emotion.
What's the possibility of Idol returning next year as a 3-judge show as opposed to a 4-judge show with Simon leaving?
I don't know. I mean, I guess there's that possibility. I hope not.
Are you going to
miss Simon? Simon is leaving. Are you ready to take on the mean judge role?
Do you think I'm mean?
No, I'm asking if you're ready to take it on.
You know what? I wish I could be that crafty as to take on roles. Unfortunately, I don't really have that skill set. I can only be me, and you know, there are times that I think I'm critical, but I always try to give some positive reinforcement because as a creative person, everybody needs that. If you just tell them what's wrong with them, they're never going to grow. And you know, especially in the early beginning part of their career, you need someone to be your champion, but also to tell you the truth.
Who did you like tonight when you were watching? Who did you watch and go away saying they did a great job this evening?
I think the last song that Crystal sang was her defining moment of the season. And it was for what I kind of explained, where I felt she always had a wall up. And those walls came down, and there was a very emotional thing going on with her, as well as a superb vocal. And when those two things come together, it's like an undeniable performance.
What did you think about Lee's song choices?
Whoa. Which one? You guys want to fight it out?
What did you think about Lee's song choices?
You know, I don't really comment on song choices, but what I will comment on is that I think that when it's your last performance, you need to psych yourself up, and you need to go out there, and you need to fight, and you know, come out with everything loaded and ready to go. And every performance should be sung and performed like it's your last performance at all times. When you see the greats, when you see Pink, when you see Mary J. Blige, they give it everything. They're sweating by the end. I mean, the great Lena Horne, who just died, if you look at those performances, she was dripping wet in sweat. So I think that's the #1 rule, but not to take away from the fact that the guy grew so much this season. He really did. And it's got to be shocking for a kid who's never been on a stage like this to stand in front of 7,000 people. I mean, I can tell you as a newbie last year, that thing was scary. You know, not having that exposure or ever being on television. So I gotta give him props for coming this far.
We actually, Lee said that he was not nervous and he was not uncomfortable just a moment ago, and that's kind of been a theme all year long with you guys, that he hasn't had confidence. And he basically just a few minutes ago told us that that's not the case. What did you guys see over the season that made you think that?
It's just a feeling, you know, and I don't want to invalidate what he said because it's him and he knows himself better than anybody else. But I think that once he goes through a few more years of experience, he may look back and say, you're right, I didn't have that confidence, or I didn't have that fire. But again, not to discredit him because he's come very, very far. And Hallelujah was one of the best performances of the season.
You keep it real. Is there any doubt that it was 3-0 Crystal tonight? Keep it real.
Speak the truth.
2-1.
From the heart.
At
least 2-1.
You know, I don't want to end it on that. I don't want to end it on that. This is what I'll give you about them. One girl came on, she knew exactly who she was from the beginning. She gigged, she'd been out there, she knew how to use all her tools in her arsenal. Another guy comes on, doesn't even know he could really sing. You know, go back and go to his YouTube when he sang Simple, what was the song, Simple Man? Simple Man. You see him with his hoodie, he's buried, he's singing karaoke, and now here's this guy who's finally standing on a stage, being recognized, getting critiques. So it's two parallel stories. You know, they didn't start at the same place. And, you know, she stayed steady, and he grew. He, for a moment, almost outshined her. So it's a very compelling finale.
You worked with Simon. You saw Simon before you were able to sit next to him. Tell us about the Simon you thought you were going to work with and the one you wound up working with.
Well, I only have two you know, stories of Simon in my head. One was when I first came on the show, where it wasn't really connecting, where I kind of felt like he wasn't feeling me. And now this season, I think we have a common respect for each other. I know I've learned a lot from him, and I really enjoyed my time with him, and I'm going to miss him. You know, it's not easy being put in a position where you're the fourth judge that nobody wants, and people think you're there to replace Paul Abdul, and they can't say your name. You're like Carla Diagordia. You know, it was a really rough ride for me in the beginning, and I had no TV experience, and you know, thank God he was there this season to even give me you know, some help too when I felt like I was struggling. I always felt more like a contestant on the show than a judge. You know, I'm finally feeling more like a judge now. But
You hit the groove.
Are you giving him a going away present? Or present? Simon?
what the hell can you get some?
You in a bikini.
Believe me, I'm not his kind of chick.
You're mine.